The moment the patriarch of the mansion raised his glass high and said to everyone, "A toast to the newest general assistant of Langford Manor," I could see the disgusted look on his wife's face, the sarcastic smile of his future daughter-in-law, but what really embarrassed me was the way his son looked at me without caring about his arranged fiancée by his side. Carter Langford didn't blink. His steel-gray eyes were fixed on me as if I were the only person in that ornate dining room, as if the other 15 guests simply didn't exist. I felt my face burn. 3 days earlier, everything seemed so different. "You got it, Avery!" My roommate Riley had screamed when I told her about the internship program. 6 months at the Langford Foundation. You're going to work with one of the most powerful men in the country. I had spun around our tiny Brooklyn kitchen, holding the acceptance letter like it was made of gold. Years of waiting tables, studying late into the night, living on ramen and cheap coffee. It was all finally worth it. Avery Cole, the girl from Nebraska with no connections or important last name, had made it. What an idiot I was. Back at the dinner, Charles Langford's glass was still raised. "Avery comes from humble beginnings," he continued, his booming voice filling the hall. The man in his early 60s had the presence of a commander, but she has demonstrated academic excellence and an admirable work ethic. I believe in giving opportunities to true merit. "How inspiring," murmured Victoria Langford, his wife, from across the table. Each word dripped refined poison. The woman with impeccably arranged blonde hair barely touched her glass to her lips. Humble? What a charming word. Beside her, Olivia Hartwell, Carter's arranged fiancée, laughed behind her crystal glass. Her red silk dress probably cost more than my year's rent. "I'm sure Avery will feel very comfortable here," Olivia said, her eyes scanning my simple black dress. "After all, we're always in need of more help." The word help sounded like servant. I swallowed hard, trying to maintain my composure. But then Carter shifted, and involuntarily my gaze met his again. Fatal mistake. He didn't look away. On the contrary, his lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was recognition, interest, something dangerous. Olivia's hand was possessively on his arm, her jewelry glinting under the chandeliers, but he seemed oblivious to his own fiancée. "Carter," Olivia said quietly, squeezing his arm. There was warning in her voice. He finally blinked, breaking eye contact with me. I grabbed my glass with trembling hands. "To Avery," Charles concluded the toast. "To Avery," some guests repeated without enthusiasm. The dinner that followed was refined torture. Each course served was accompanied by Victoria's subtly cruel questions about my provincial education and Olivia's comments about people who don't know their place. I responded with forced politeness, each word measured, each smile painful. But the worst was Carter. He barely spoke, just observed. And every time I dared to look in his direction, there was that intense gaze, studying me as if I were a puzzle he needed to solve. Olivia noticed. Victoria noticed. Even Charles, absorbed in conversation with investors, occasionally cast curious glances at his son. When dessert finally arrived, I just wanted to disappear. "So, Miss Cole," Victoria said, delicately wiping her lips with a linen napkin. "Tell us about your family." "Your father, he works in construction," I answered, chin raised. I wasn't ashamed of my origins, but I knew the game she was playing. "Ah." The sound she made spoke volumes. "And your mother?" "Nurse." "How noble." Olivia smiled. "Working people are the backbone of society, aren't they?" The patronizing tone was suffocating. That's when Carter finally spoke, his deep voice cutting through the conversation. "And you graduated with honors from Columbia, didn't you?" Everyone turned to him, surprised. It was the first time he'd participated in the conversation in half an hour. "Yes," I answered cautiously. "Full scholarship?" "Yes." He nodded slowly, and something like respect crossed his face. "Impressive." Olivia went rigid. Victoria dropped her fork with a sharp clink. "Carter, darling," Victoria said in a sharp voice. "I'm sure Avery is tired from the trip. Perhaps we should— Would you like to see the property's library?" Carter interrupted me, completely ignoring his mother. "My father mentioned you have an interest in the history of American philanthropy. We have rare first editions." The silence that followed was deadly. Olivia was pale with fury. Victoria looked about to explode. Charles watched his son with a mixture of confusion and something that seemed like amusement. I appreciate the offer, but it's late," I managed to say, my voice barely coming out. "Tomorrow then," Carter insisted. It wasn't a request. Victoria stood abruptly. "If you'll all excuse me." She left the room like a storm of silk and expensive perfume. Olivia followed moments later, but not before casting me a look that promised war. Now, 24 hours after that disastrous dinner, I was being expelled. "Mrs. Victoria made it clear," Gerald repeated, implacable. "You are no longer welcome in this house." I held my suitcase tighter, feeling tears of anger sting my eyes. Not sadness, pure indignation. I hadn't done anything wrong, nothing but exist, apparently. "Where is Mr. Charles?" I demanded. "He hired me. I have rights." "My father is in a meeting." The voice came from behind. Carter Langford descended the main staircase, impeccable in a gray suit. In daylight, he was even more striking than at dinner. Dark brown hair, defined jawline, those disturbing eyes. "And you're not going anywhere," he said, stopping in front of me. My heart raced. "Your mother doesn't run this house. My father does." He looked at Gerald. "Miss Cole stays. Prepare her quarters in the East Wing." "Sir?" Gerald hesitated. Mrs. Victoria was very clear. "So am I." Carter's voice was steel. "And I suggest Gerald choose wisely whom to obey." Gerald nodded stiffly and withdrew. I stood face to face with Carter Langford, not knowing whether to thank him or run. Probably both. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. He studied me for a long moment, and then that dangerous, almost smile returned. "Because for the first time in years, Avery Cole, something in this mansion interests me." And I knew, with absolute certainty, that I had just gotten myself into the kind of trouble from which there was no easy way out. The East Wing of Langford Manor was beautiful and isolating in equal measure. My room overlooked the estate's gardens, all perfectly manicured hedges and marble fountains that probably cost more than my childhood home. The bed was larger than my entire Brooklyn apartment bedroom. Everything screamed luxury and reminded me I didn't belong. I'd been here 3 days since the disastrous dinner. 3 days of avoiding Carter Langford while simultaneously being hyper-aware of his presence. 3 days of Victoria's icy glares and Olivia's calculated cruelty disguised as sweetness. And 3 days of actually working for the Langford Foundation, which turned out to be the only good part. "Miss Cole, these projections are remarkable." James Morrison, the Foundation's director, studied my analysis with genuine surprise. We were in the Foundation's wing of the manor, surrounded by files on humanitarian projects. "You've identified efficiency gaps we've missed for years." "Thank you, Mr. Morrison." I tried not to sound too pleased. In truth, the work was exactly what I dreamed of. Real impact, substantial projects, the chance to help communities across the country. "Charles will want to see this. Perhaps at tomorrow's board meeting." "Absolutely not." We both turned. Victoria Langford stood in the doorway, elegant as a viper in Chanel. Her presence sucked the warmth from the room. "Mrs. Langford," James stammered, "I was just reviewing— Miss Cole will not be attending board meetings." Victoria's tone left no room for argument. "She's an intern. Her place is filing papers and fetching coffee, not presenting to the board." Heat crept up my neck. "With respect, Mrs. Langford, my contract specifies—" "I don't care what your contract specifies." She stepped closer, her perfume expensive and suffocating. "You may have charmed my husband with your sob story, but you don't fool me. I know exactly what you're doing. I'm working, that's all. Are you? Her smile was arctic. Because from where I'm standing, you're a calculating little opportunist who saw a wealthy family and decided to sink her claws in. First the job, then my son. That's insane. I haven't you? Victoria's eyes flashed. You think I didn't see how you looked at Carter? How he looked at you? The boy is engaged, Miss Cole. Engaged to a woman of his own class, his own world. Whatever fantasy you're nurturing, end it now. My hands clenched into fists. I have no interest in your son. The lie tasted bitter. Because the truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about Carter, about his intense gaze, his unexpected defense of me, the way his voice dropped when he said my name. But that didn't mean I was pursuing him. Good. Victoria smoothed her skirt. Then you'll have no problem maintaining professional distance. No private conversations. No lingering glances. And certainly no more library visits. She swept out before I could respond. James cleared his throat awkwardly. She's protective of the family. She's horrible, I muttered. She's powerful, he corrected gently. And she's not someone you want as an enemy, Avery. Too late for that. That evening, I tried to lose myself in work, spreading documents across my bed. The foundation was planning a literacy initiative in Appalachia, and I'd found several concerning gaps in their implementation strategy. A knock on my door startled me. Come in, I called, expecting maybe Riley or one of the staff. Carter Langford entered my room. I jumped up so fast papers scattered everywhere. What are you doing here? He closed the door behind him, which felt both dangerous and thrilling, and surveyed the chaos of my workspace with amusement. You're working, at 9 p.m. Is that illegal? It's dedicated. He picked up one of my reports, skimming it. The Appalachia project. You found the vendor markup issues. How did you? I read everything that crosses my father's desk. He set the paper down, his gray eyes meeting mine. You're good at this, Avery. Really good. The compliment shouldn't have made my heart race. Thank you. My mother spoke to you today. Of course he knew. She made her position clear. Let me guess. Stay away from me. Know your place. Remember you're just the help. His jaw tightened. She gave Olivia the same speech about you, except hers was more about eliminating threats. I'm not a threat. I'm not anything. You're something. He stepped closer, and suddenly the room felt smaller. You're smart, driven. You don't back down. You looked my mother in the eye at that dinner when most people would have crawled under the table. And you're here on pure merit, which is more than anyone else in this house can say. Carter. I backed up, hitting my desk. You're engaged. To a woman I don't love. Never loved. It's a business arrangement. That's not my problem. Isn't it? His voice dropped. Because you feel this too. Whatever this is between us. God help me, I did. From the moment our eyes met at that dinner, something shifted. A pull I couldn't explain, didn't want, absolutely couldn't act on. It doesn't matter what I feel, I said firmly. I'm not going to be the other woman. I'm not going to give your mother and Olivia the satisfaction of being right about me. And I'm not going to throw away this opportunity for whatever this is. Something like respect flickered in his eyes. You're stronger than I thought. I have to be. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're right. This can't happen. But he didn't move away. Doesn't mean I can stop thinking about you. Try harder. Avery. Please leave, Carter. For a second, I thought he wouldn't. The tension between us was electric, dangerous. Then he stepped back. For what it's worth, he said at the door. I'm sorry. About all of this. You deserve better than being caught in my family's drama. After he left, I sank onto my bed, hands shaking. I was in so much trouble. The next morning, I found a formal note slipped under my door. Miss Cole, your presence is required at the annual Langford Foundation Gala this Saturday. Attendance mandatory. business formal attire. V. Langford. Below, in different handwriting, "It's a trap. Be careful. C." I stared at Carter's warning, my stomach knotting. A gala meant society, wealth. All of Washington's elite watching me, judging me, waiting for me to fail. And Victoria and Olivia would make sure I did. "You can't wear that." I looked up from my laptop to find Olivia Hartwell standing in my office doorway, her expression a perfect blend of concern and condescension. She held a garment bag emblazoned with a designer logo I recognized from magazine covers. "Excuse me?" "To the gala, darling." She glided in uninvited, draping the bag over my chair. "I saw your dress hanging in your room. Very sweet, very department store. But this is the Langford Foundation Gala. 500 of Washington's most influential people. You'd be eaten alive." My pride stung. The navy dress I'd bought had cost me 3 paychecks. "I appreciate the concern, but—" "It's not concern, it's damage control." Olivia's smile was sharp. "You represent the foundation now, Charles's little social experiment. We can't have you looking like, well, like what you are." There it was, the cruelty beneath the sugarcoating. "What I am," I said slowly, standing to face her, "is a Columbia graduate with a 4.0 GPA who earned every single thing she has, unlike some people." Her eyes flashed. "Careful, Avery. You're living in our world now, and in our world, pedigree matters more than grades. Then your world is broken. Perhaps." She ran a manicured nail along my desk. "But it's still the world you're desperate to join. So here's what's going to happen. You'll wear this dress, you'll smile prettily at the gala, and you'll remember your place. Because if you don't—" She leaned in conspiratorially. "Well, accidents happen at these events. A spilled drink, a misplaced comment to the right journalist, a photo at just the wrong angle. It would be such a shame if your reputation was destroyed before your career even started." My blood ran cold. "You're threatening me. I'm educating you." She straightened. "The dress is a gift. I suggest you accept it graciously." After she left, I unzipped the garment bag with shaking hands. The gown was stunning. Emerald silk that would cling to every curve, with a neckline that bordered on scandalous. It was beautiful, expensive, and completely inappropriate for an intern trying to be taken seriously. It was a trap. Wear my own dress and be mocked for being poor. Wear Olivia's and be labeled a seductress trying to catch Carter's attention. I couldn't win. "Wear your own dress." I spun around. Carter stood in my office doorway. Apparently, nobody knocked in this family. His tie loosened, looking tired and unfairly handsome. "You have to stop sneaking up on me," I said. "You have to stop letting Olivia manipulate you." He nodded at the emerald gown. "That's her play. She wants you to wear it so my mother can crucify you for being inappropriate. Then she'll comfort me about your obvious designs on me, and I'm supposed to see her as the reasonable, classy choice. You seem to know her playbook well. I've been her target for 2 years." He moved closer, studying the dress with disgust. "She's not a bad person, necessarily. Just ambitious and raised to see marriage as a merger, not a partnership. And you agreed to this merger. My father needed her family's political connections. I needed—" He trailed off. "It doesn't matter. What matters is Saturday night. Carter, I can handle—" "No, you can't." His intensity pinned me in place. "Not this. The gala is a war zone, and you're walking in with a target on your back. My mother will have her society friends ready to dissect every word you say. Olivia will engineer situations to embarrass you. And the press, God, the press will be circling like sharks if they sense a story. Then why am I required to attend? Because my mother wants to break you. She thinks if she humiliates you publicly, you'll quit. Then she can tell my father, see, the poor girl couldn't handle our world, and he'll abandon his merit-based hiring philosophy. I sank into my chair. This is insane. This is the Langford family. He crouched beside me, his face level with mine. But you don't have to face it alone. What are you suggesting? Stay close to me at the gala. I'll run interference. Absolutely not. I stood abruptly. That's exactly what they expect. Poor desperate Avery clinging to the wealthy heir. I won't give them that narrative. Then what will you do? I looked at my dress. Simple, affordable, honest, and made my decision. I'll do what I always do. Show them I belong through my work, not my wardrobe. I met his eyes. Your father is announcing the Appalachia initiative at the gala, right? Yes, but I rewrote the entire implementation plan, found $500,000 in savings and doubled the projected impact. If he presents my version, every foundation director and philanthropist in that room will want to know who did the analysis. Carter's expression shifted to admiration. You're going to outwork them. It's the only weapon I have. He stood, and for a moment we were too close, the air between us charged. You're remarkable. You know that? I'm surviving. No. His hand lifted like he might touch my face, then dropped. You're thriving. Despite everything we've thrown at you, you're thriving. He stepped back, putting necessary distance between us. I should go. Olivia's probably timing how long I've been gone. Carter, I called as he reached the door. Thank you for the warning, for believing I can do this. His smile was genuine, warm, and devastating. I don't just believe you can do it, Avery. I believe you'll steal the whole damn show. Saturday arrived too fast. I dressed in my navy gown, styled my hair in a simple updo, and stared at my reflection. I looked professional, presentable, and completely outclassed by everyone who would be there. But I looked like me, and that would have to be enough. The ballroom at Langford Manor was transformed into glittering opulence, crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, flowers that probably cost more than my car. Washington's elite circulated in designer gowns and bespoke tuxedos, their laughter practiced and their smiles strategic. I felt every eye turn to me as I entered. Well, well. Victoria materialized beside me, resplendent in white silk. How quaint. You wore your little dress after all. It seemed appropriate for a professional event. Professional? She sipped her champagne, her gaze arctic. Yes, I suppose you would see it that way. Come, dear, let me introduce you to some people. My stomach dropped. This was it, the public execution Carter had warned about. Victoria led me to a circle of Washington's most formidable society women, each one appraising me like I was livestock at auction. Ladies, this is Avery Cole, Charles's little charity project. And the trap snapped shut. Ladies, this is Avery Cole, Charles's little charity project. The circle of society women turned their surgically perfected faces toward me, their smiles predatory. I recognized two of them from Forbes covers, Senator Patricia Harding's wife and the CEO of one of Washington's most influential PR firms. How interesting, one woman in diamonds said. And what exactly do you do, dear? The way she said dear made it sound like child. I'm working on strategic implementation for the Foundation's community initiatives, I replied evenly. How nice. Like a secretary? Like an analyst. I kept my voice pleasant. I identify inefficiencies in resource allocation and develop frameworks to maximize social impact per dollar invested. Silence. They hadn't expected jargon. Victoria's smile tightened. Avery is very academic, though, of course, real philanthropy requires understanding the social ecosystem, not just spreadsheets. Relationships, influence, legacy, things one learns through breeding, not books. The insult was elegant and devastating. Actually, a new voice cut in. The Foundation's most successful initiative in the last decade came from a data analyst, not a socialite. Charles Langford appeared at my elbow, imposing in his tuxedo. The women immediately straightened, their demeanor shifting. Charles, Victoria's voice could cut glass. We were just getting to know your protege. I'm sure you were. His tone was dry. Avery, I need you. The Appalachia presentation has a technical issue. It was an obvious rescue, but I took it gratefully. As we walked away, he murmured, She's trying to break you before you even start. I noticed. Don't let her. He guided me toward the stage. Your analysis of the Appalachia initiative. It's brilliant. I'm presenting it in 20 minutes and I want you beside me when I do. My heart stopped. Mr. Langford, I don't think I do. This is your work. You deserve the credit. He paused. Unless you'd prefer to hide. The challenge in his eyes sparked something in me. I don't hide. Good. Then let's show them what merit looks like. 20 minutes later, I stood on stage beside Charles Langford, facing 500 of Washington's most powerful people. My hands shook slightly as I pulled up my presentation. Victoria sat in the front row, her expression murderous. Beside her, Olivia whispered to the women around her, probably spreading poison. And Carter. Carter watched from the side, his entire focus on me, his expression unreadable. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles began, tonight I'm proud to announce our most ambitious initiative yet, bringing literacy programs and economic development to Appalachia's most underserved communities. But the real pride is in how we're doing it. Miss Cole, if you would. I stepped forward, and my voice somehow stayed steady. Traditional aid models fail because they don't account for existing community structures, I began, warming to my subject. We analyzed 50 years of similar initiatives and identified 3 critical errors that cost foundations billions in wasted resources. As I spoke, something shifted. The audience leaned forward. Questions came, smart, engaged questions. A foundation director from New York wanted my contact information. A tech CEO asked about applying my framework to his own philanthropy. I wasn't the charity case anymore. I was the expert. When we finished, the applause was genuine. Charles beamed like a proud father. Remarkable, he said as we left the stage. You're exactly what this foundation needs, Avery. But as I descended the stairs, Olivia intercepted me. Congratulations, she said sweetly. That was quite a performance. It wasn't a performance. It was research. Of course. She sipped her champagne. Though I wonder, does Carter know you're using his father to get close to him? Very clever, really. Impress the father. Seduce the son. That's not, isn't it? She stepped closer, her voice dropping. I saw how you looked at him just now. How he looks at you. You think I'm blind. I think you're insecure, I said quietly. And projecting. Her hand moved so fast I barely saw it. Champagne splashing across my chest, cold and shocking. Oh my God! Olivia's voice carried across the ballroom. I'm so sorry! How clumsy of me! Everyone turned, everyone stared, and I stood there, champagne dripping down my dress, understanding the setup too late, the accident that would dominate tomorrow's society pages. Poor Avery Cole, so out of her depth she got doused at her first gala. It's fine, I managed, face burning. Let me help you clean up. I said it's fine. I turned to leave, desperate to escape. But Carter blocked my path. No, he said loudly, his voice carrying. It's not fine. The room went silent. Carter, darling, Olivia laughed nervously. It was an accident. Was it? He looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression made her step back. Because from where I stood, it looked deliberate. Don't be ridiculous. I'm done being ridiculous. He turned to the room, to everyone watching. I'm done with a lot of things, actually. This engagement, for instance. Olivia went white. What? You heard me. He pulled the engagement ring from his pocket, when had he taken it off, and set it on a nearby table. I've spent 2 years in a relationship built on obligation and social climbing. I'm finished. Carter! Victoria pushed through the crowd. What are you doing? What I should have done months ago. He looked at me, and his eyes held something raw and real. I'm choosing what I want, not what's expected. My breath caught. The entire ballroom held its breath. You're making a mistake, Victoria hissed. Over her? Over this nobody? She's not a nobody. Carter's voice was steel. She's brilliant and driven and honest. Everything this family pretends to value but actually fears. And I'm tired of pretending I don't see it. He offered me his hand. I stared at it, my mind racing. This was insane. Career suicide, social suicide, everything I'd worked for, destroyed in one impulsive moment. But his hand was steady. And his eyes promised something I'd never had. Someone who saw me, really saw me, and chose me anyway. I took his hand. The ballroom erupted. Victoria's face was pure fury. Olivia stood frozen in shock. Charles looked between his wife and son, calculation in his eyes. And the society vultures circled, already crafting the scandal for tomorrow's headlines. Carter led me through the crowd and out onto the terrace, away from the chaos. That was incredibly stupid, I said, shaking. Probably. You just destroyed your engagement. Your mother will never forgive you. The press will crucify us both. I know. Carter. I know, Avery. He cupped my face, his touch gentle. But I also know I couldn't watch them destroy you for one more second. I couldn't pretend I don't feel this. Feel what? Everything. His thumb brushed my cheek. Every impossible, inconvenient, completely inappropriate thing. My heart was thunder. We can't. We already did. And he kissed me. The kiss lasted forever and ended too soon. When Carter pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, both of us breathing hard. Behind us, through the terrace doors, I could see the gala descending into chaos. Guests clustered in gossiping groups. Olivia was crying dramatically in her mother's arms. Victoria stood like a statue of fury, staring daggers at us through the glass. We should go back inside, I whispered. We really shouldn't. Carter's hand was still tangled in my hair. Give them 5 minutes and they'll be calling photographers. This will be on every society blog by morning. Your mother looks ready to murder me. She'll have to get in line behind Olivia's family. He stepped back reluctantly, running a hand through his hair. The Hartwells are one of the most powerful political dynasties in Washington. I just publicly humiliated their daughter. Reality crashed over me like ice water. Oh God. Carter, what did we do? What I should have done months ago. But I could see doubt creeping into his eyes. Avery, I meant what I said in there. Every word, but this is a disaster. A spectacular one. He laughed without humor. My father is probably calculating the political fallout. The Hartwells will retaliate. They don't forgive slights. And my mother? He looked through the glass at Victoria's rigid figure. She'll come for you. Hard. My stomach twisted. Maybe I should just leave. Resign from the program. Go back to New York. No. His hand caught mine, fierce. That's what they want. For you to run, to prove you never belonged here. Maybe I don't. You belong here more than any of them. He pulled me closer. You earned your place. They were born into theirs. There's a difference. A difference that doesn't matter to them. Then we make it matter. The terrace doors burst open. Charles Langford strode out, his expression unreadable. Inside, both of you, now. Charles's private study was all dark wood and leather, the kind of room where empires were built and destroyed. He poured himself 3 fingers of scotch before turning to face us. That, he said slowly, was the most spectacular piece of self-sabotage I've seen in 30 years of politics. Carter's jaw set. I'm not apologizing. I didn't ask you to. Charles took a long drink. I asked you to use your head. Breaking off an engagement to a senator's daughter at a charity gala in front of 500 witnesses? For an intern? She's not just an intern. I know exactly what she is. Charles's gaze shifted to me. Brilliant, driven, completely unprepared for the buzzsaw you just threw her into. Mr. Langford, I started. I never intended. No one ever intends anything in this family. Things just happen. He sighed heavily. Avery, you did exceptional work tonight. That presentation was exactly what this foundation needs, but now it'll be buried under scandal. Langford air dumps fiancé for gold-digging intern. That's tomorrow's headline. The word stung because I'd been thinking the same thing. She's not a gold digger, Carter snapped. I know that. You know that. The court of public opinion doesn't care. Charles set down his glass. Here's the situation. The Hartwells are already calling in favors. By morning, there will be photographers outside this house. Reporters digging into Avery's background looking for dirt. Society bloggers tearing apart everything from her dress tonight to her GPA. Then I'll set the record straight. You can't. Charles cut him off. The more you defend her, the worse it looks, like she's some helpless damsel you're rescuing, which feeds their narrative. So what do we do? I asked quietly. Charles studied me for a long moment. You have two choices. One, resign, go back to New York, let this blow over. I'll write you a glowing recommendation, help you land somewhere prestigious. You walk away with your dignity and your future intact. Or you stay and fight. Prove them wrong through your work, not through Carter's defense. But I won't lie. It'll be hell. Victoria will make your life miserable. Society will freeze you out. And every achievement will be questioned as favoritism because of your relationship with my son. There is no relationship, I said automatically. Carter's head snapped toward me. Avery! There can't be. I looked at him, my heart breaking. Not now. Not like this. Everything I've done here gets erased if we're together. I become the intern who seduced the heir. Every success becomes suspect. I lose everything I've worked for. So that kiss meant nothing? It meant everything. My voice cracked. That's the problem. Silence stretched between us, heavy and painful. Charles cleared his throat. Perhaps some distance would be wise. Carter, you have that property in Montana. I'm not leaving. Then Avery will. Charles looked at me. The foundation has a satellite office in Boston. 6 weeks, working on the education initiative there, away from cameras and gossip. It'll let things cool down. You're exiling her? Carter's voice was dangerous. I'm protecting her, and giving her space to decide what she wants without 500 judgmental eyes watching. Charles refilled his glass. Avery? 6 weeks away from this mansion, from Victoria's cruelty, from the constant pressure. 6 weeks to breathe. 6 weeks away from Carter. I'll go, I said quietly. Avery, no. It's the right choice, Carter. You know it is. I couldn't look at him. Tonight it was a mistake. We got caught up in the moment, in defending me from Olivia. But we can't build anything real on that foundation. You don't believe that. I have to believe that. Finally, I met his eyes. Because the alternative, trying to be with you while everyone calls me a gold digger and your mother destroys my career, that's not sustainable. One of us would end up resenting the other. His face went carefully blank. So that's it. One kiss, and you're running. The accusation stung. I'm not running. I'm surviving. Looks the same from here. Carter, Charles warned. But Carter was already heading for the door. He paused at the threshold, his back to us. For what it's worth, Avery, I meant what I said earlier. You're remarkable. Braver than anyone in that ballroom. His voice roughened. I just wish you were brave enough to stay. He left, and the sound of the door closing felt like the end of something that never got to begin. Charles sighed. He'll forgive you. Will he? I wrapped my arms around myself. Did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? You made the smart choice, the safe choice. He paused. Whether it was the right choice, that remains to be seen. I left for Boston the next morning at dawn, before the press arrived, before Victoria could gloat, before I could change my mind. My phone buzzed constantly, messages from Riley demanding details, news alerts about the Langford scandal, even a voicemail from my mother worried about the attention. But nothing from Carter. As the car pulled away from Langford Manor, I looked back at the East Wing window. For a moment, I thought I saw a figure standing there, watching me leave. Then we turned a corner, and it was gone. Boston in November was cold, gray, and blessedly anonymous. 4 weeks into my exile, I'd thrown myself into work with an intensity that bordered on obsession. The Foundation's education initiative here was a mess. Outdated methods, inefficient resource allocation, zero community engagement. Fixing it gave me purpose, and, more importantly, distraction. Distraction from checking my phone for messages that never came. "Avery, you're here again?" Marcus Chen, the Boston office director, found me at my desk at 8 p.m. on a Friday. "Don't you have friends? A life?" "This is my life." I gestured at the spreadsheets covering my screen. "And I'm close to cracking the tutoring program inefficiencies." "You cracked those 2 weeks ago." He sat on my desk. "What you're doing now is hiding." "I'm working." "You're running." He pulled up a chair. "Look, I don't know what happened in Washington. Well, actually, everyone knows what happened. Society blogs are still dining out on it. But whatever drama you left behind, you can't spreadsheet your way out of feelings. Watch me try." But my voice lacked conviction. Marcus studied me. "He hasn't called?" I didn't need to ask who he was. Why would he? I made it clear we were a mistake. "Were you?" The question hit harder than it should. Because the truth was, that kiss on the terrace felt like the first honest thing that had happened to me in Washington. Everything else, the politics, the performance, the careful navigation of social minefields, that was survival. Carter was real, and I'd walked away from it. "It doesn't matter," I said finally. My reputation was hanging by a thread. If I'd stayed, if we'd tried to be together, I'd be the intern who slept her way to success. Every achievement questioned. Every promotion suspect. So instead, you're the intern who ran away. Is that better? I had no answer. That weekend, Riley video called from our Brooklyn apartment. "You look terrible," she said cheerfully. "Thanks. You look great too." "I'm serious, Ave. You've got dark circles, you're drowning in oversized sweaters, and I haven't seen you smile in a month." She leaned closer to the camera. "This isn't you. You don't hide. You fight." "I am fighting. I'm doing incredible work here." "You're hiding in work. There's a difference." She paused. "Have you seen the news?" My stomach dropped. "What news?" Riley pulled up her phone, reading. "Carter Langford spotted at DC Children's Hospital charity event, looking notably solo. Sources say the former golden boy of Washington society has become a recluse since his dramatic split from Olivia Hartwell. Meanwhile, Hartwell has been seen with... I don't need to hear about Olivia's rebound. That's not the point. The point is he's miserable, Avery. And according to this very invasive article, he's been burying himself in foundation work just like you. Last week, he personally delivered supplies to Appalachia. Your project. The one you designed. Something twisted in my chest. That doesn't mean anything. It means he's trying to feel close to you the only way he can." Riley's expression softened. "You're both idiots. You know that? You care about each other, but you're too proud or scared or whatever to actually talk. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You like him. He likes you. Everything else is just noise. Noise that could destroy my career." "What career, Avery?" Riley's words were gentle but firm. "You're brilliant. You could work anywhere. But you're so busy protecting this perfect professional image that you're forgetting to actually live." After we hung up, I sat in my small Boston apartment, staring at my phone. Carter's contact was still there. I'd almost deleted it 100 times, but couldn't make myself do it. My thumb hovered over his name. Then my phone buzzed, but not with a call. An email from Charles Langford. Avery, your work in Boston has been exceptional. The tutoring program redesign is being implemented nationwide. Well done. On a personal note, I think you've proven your point. Everyone who matters knows you're here on merit. The question is, what do you want? The safe path, or the real one? CL. Attached was a news article. I clicked it reluctantly. Langford Foundation announces major restructuring. Carter Langford steps into leadership role, vows to prioritize merit over status. The article included quotes from Carter about changing how the foundation operated, about valuing substance over society connections, about how one person, unnamed but obviously me, had shown him what real dedication looked like. He was fighting for what we'd started, while I hid in Boston. The next morning, I walked into Marcus's office. I need to go back to Washington. He didn't look surprised. Figured you'd come to your senses eventually. When? Today. Now. I've been running, and I'm done running. What changed? I thought about Carter at that children's hospital, alone. About him implementing my projects, carrying forward work we'd started together. About Riley calling us both idiots, which we absolutely were. I changed, I said. I've spent 4 weeks trying to prove I don't need anyone, that I can do this alone. But the truth is, I don't want to, and I'm tired of letting other people's opinions dictate my choices. Marcus grinned. There's the fighter I hired. Go get him. It might be too late. I said some things, then unsay them. Grand gesture time, Avery. This is a romance, not a spreadsheet. I laughed despite myself. When did you become a relationship expert? I watch a lot of rom-coms. Now go. Your train leaves in 2 hours. The trip back to Washington felt eternal and too fast simultaneously. I rehearsed what I'd say 100 different ways. None of them felt right. What do you say to someone you pushed away because you were scared? Someone you'd been protecting yourself from when what you really needed was to let them in? The car pulled up to Langford Manor at sunset. The house looked different somehow. Or maybe I was different. Less intimidated, more determined. I paid the driver and grabbed my bag, heading for the front door. It opened before I could knock. But it wasn't Gerald. It was Victoria Langford. Well, well, she said, her smile glacial. The prodigal intern returns. How predictable. Is Carter here? Carter is exactly where you left him, heartbroken and questioning everything. She stepped aside, letting me in. But before you go running to him with your apologies and dramatic declarations, perhaps you should know, Olivia's family has offered reconciliation, a fresh start, and Carter, being the dutiful son he's trying to be, is seriously considering it. The words hit like a physical blow. You're lying. Am I? Victoria's eyes glittered. You've been gone a month, dear. Did you really think he'd wait forever for a woman who chose her career over him? I stopped, because she was right. I had chosen safety over risk, career over Carter, and now I might be too late. Where is he? I asked quietly. The gardens, where you first ran away from him. Victoria's smile was triumphant. Let's see if you'll run again. I pushed past her, heart pounding, heading for the terrace doors. This time, I wouldn't run. This time, I'd fight. Carter stood by the fountain where we'd first kissed, his back to me, shoulders tense beneath his coat. The setting sun painted everything gold and crimson, beautiful and melancholic. I knew you'd come back, he said without turning. My mother made sure of it. Told you about Olivia's reconciliation offer, didn't she? I stopped halfway across the terrace. Is it true? Does it matter? He finally turned, and the sight of him stole my breath. He looked tired, older somehow. Shadows under his eyes, his usual polish dimmed. You made your choice a month ago, Avery, very clearly. I made the wrong choice. Did you? He laughed bitterly. Because from where I'm standing, you made the smart one. Safe, practical, very you. The accusation stung because it was true. I was scared. So was I. I still am. Difference is I was willing to fight through it. You ran. I know. I moved closer. I told myself I was protecting my career, my reputation, but really, I was just terrified. Of this, I gestured between us, of feeling something real for the first time in my life and watching it destroy everything I'd built. So you destroyed it first. His jaw clenched. Very efficient. Carter, please. Please what? His voice rose. You want forgiveness? Absolution? You broke my heart, Avery. Not publicly at a gala, but privately, quietly, with spreadsheets and logic and very reasonable explanations about why we couldn't work. Tears burned my eyes. I'm sorry. Are you? He stepped closer, his intensity pinning me in place. Or are you just sorry that I might move on, that Olivia's family offered reconciliation, and suddenly you're faced with losing me for real? That's not. Then what is it? Because I need to understand. I need to know if you're here because you want me, or because you can't stand the idea of me with someone else. The question hung between us, sharp and necessary. I thought about the last month, every sleepless night, every time I'd reached for my phone, every moment I'd buried myself in work to avoid feeling. The ache that never left, the way Boston felt wrong because Carter wasn't there. I'm here, I said slowly, because I finally realized that protecting myself from getting hurt isn't the same as being happy. I'm here because your father asked me what I wanted, the safe path or the real one, and I'm choosing real. I'm here because Riley called us both idiots, and she was right. Riley called us idiots? Extensively. A tiny smile cracked through my tears. She said we care about each other, but we're too proud to admit it, too scared to risk it. She's not wrong. Some of the anger faded from his eyes. But caring isn't enough, Avery. I cared a month ago. I care now. The question is whether you're brave enough to care back, publicly, messily, with all the consequences. I am. My voice steadied. I'm done hiding. Done letting your mother or society or anyone else dictate my life. If they want to call me a gold digger, let them. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters. And your career? My career is fine. Better than fine. Charles told me my Boston work is going national. I proved myself. I stepped closer. But proving myself means nothing if I'm alone. If I'm too scared to fight for what I actually want. Which is? You. The word came out raw, honest. I want you. The late-night conversations about changing the world. The way you look at me like I matter. The way you make me believe I deserve to be in rooms I was never supposed to enter. I want all of it, consequences and all. Carter's expression softened, but pain still lingered. You hurt me. I know. You made me feel like I wasn't worth the risk. You were always worth the risk. I just couldn't see past my own fear. I closed the distance between us. But I'm here now, fighting, choosing you, choosing us. If it's not too late. It might be. His voice was quiet. The Hartwells are powerful. Olivia's father could make things difficult for the foundation. My mother won't stop undermining you. And society will be vicious. I know. You'll be scrutinized constantly, every success questioned, every mistake amplified. I know. And I come with baggage, family expectations, business obligations, a mother who will literally never accept you. Carter. I put my hand on his chest, feeling his heart race beneath my palm. I know all of that. I've lived it, and I'm still here. He covered my hand with his, holding it against him. Why? Because a month without you was worse than a lifetime of Victoria's disapproval. Because I'd rather fight beside you than succeed alone. Because... My voice broke. Because I'm falling in love with you, and that terrifies me. But losing you terrifies me more. The words hung in the twilight air. Carter's thumb traced circles on my hand. Say that again. Which part? The falling in love part. Heat crept up my neck. I'm falling in love with you. Good. His other hand cupped my face. Because I'm completely, irrevocably in love with you. Have been since you stared down my mother at that first dinner and refused to back down. Really? Really. His smile was genuine now, warm and devastating. You terrified me. This brilliant, fierce woman who didn't care about my name or money, who wanted to be here on merit, who looked at me and saw me, not the heir, not the trophy, just Carter. Just Carter is my favorite version. Even just Carter comes with a controlling mother and a society that will hate you. Especially then. I stood on my toes, bringing our faces closer. Though for the record, if Olivia's family really did offer reconciliation, they did. My mother orchestrated it beautifully. A quiet dinner, Olivia in tears, her father making very reasonable arguments about political alliances. His forehead touched mine. I told them all to go to hell. Relief flooded through me. When? 2 weeks ago. The day after you left, actually. He smiled ruefully. I was never considering it, Avery. My mother just wanted you to think I was. Wanted you to come back desperate and willing to accept any scraps of attention. That's twisted. That's my mother. He paused. She's watching us right now, you know, from the library window. I glanced back. Sure enough, Victoria stood framed in glass, her expression furious. Let her watch, I said. I'm done being afraid of her. Yeah? Carter's eyes sparkled with something dangerous and delicious. Then you won't mind if I do this? He kissed me. And unlike our first kiss, desperate and stolen, this one was a declaration. Slow, deep, claiming. His hands tangled in my hair, my arms wrapped around his neck, and for the first time in a month, everything felt right. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Carter grinned. My mother looks apoplectic. Good, I laughed against his lips. What do we do now? Now? He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Now we fight, together. We prove them all wrong. We build something real. It won't be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. He pulled me close. But Avery, I'm all in. Are you? I thought about safe choices and careful plans, about the girl from Nebraska who always played it smart, never took risks. Then I thought about Carter, brilliant, complicated, real, and the future we could build together. I'm all in, I said. And I meant it. 6 months later, the Langford Foundation Gala looked remarkably similar to the one that had changed everything. Same crystal chandeliers, same champagne fountains, same Washington elite circulating in designer gowns. But this time, I walked in holding Carter's hand. Ready? He murmured, squeezing my fingers. For Victoria's withering glares and society's judgment? Always. He laughed. That's my girl. The past 6 months had been exactly as hard as we'd anticipated, and worth every difficult moment. Victoria still despised me, though she'd learned to mask it with icy politeness in front of Charles. Olivia had married a congressman in a wedding that made the cover of 3 magazines, and society had eventually found new scandals to dissect. But more importantly, I'd proven myself. The Appalachia Literacy Initiative was now the Foundation's flagship program, serving 15,000 children. My Boston education redesign had been adopted by 4 other major philanthropies, and just last week, Charles had promoted me to Director of Strategic Development, the youngest in the Foundation's history. Avery, Carter, James Morrison approached, beaming. Have you seen the turnout? Everyone who's anyone in philanthropy is here for your presentation. My presentation. On revolutionizing how foundations measure social impact. The culmination of a year's work, and my chance to reshape the entire sector's approach. No pressure. She's going to be brilliant, Carter said confidently. Obviously. James winked at me. Though I have to say, when Charles first brought you in as an intern, I never imagined that the charity project would actually succeed, I supplied dryly. That you'd turn this whole foundation upside down in the best possible way. He grinned. Half these organizations are here hoping to poach you. She's not going anywhere, Carter said firmly, pulling me closer. After James left, I turned to Carter. You know I can handle my own job offers, right? I know. I also know you love what you're doing here. His eyes softened. But if someone offered you something better, something that made you happier, I'd support it. Even if it meant long distance or relocating or… I kissed him, cutting off his worry. I'm exactly where I want to be. In a ballroom full of people who spent months calling you a gold digger? With you, fighting to change the world, making your mother uncomfortable. I smiled. It's perfect. Miss Cole. Victoria's voice cut through the warmth. She appeared in ice blue silk, every inch the Washington matriarch. The presentation begins in 20 minutes. Do try not to embarrass the family name. I'll do my best, Mrs. Langford. I kept my tone pleasant. She swept away, but not before I caught something in her expression. Not quite respect, but maybe acknowledgement. I'd proven I wasn't going anywhere, that I deserved my place here. She might never like me, but she'd learn to tolerate me. One day, Carter said, watching his mother leave, she might actually be civil. Let's not get crazy. Charles found us before the presentation. Avery, a word? We stepped into a quieter corner. Carter moved to give us privacy, but Charles waved him back. Stay. This concerns you both. He pulled out an envelope. The Foundation's board met this morning. We've decided to expand our leadership structure. Carter will be taking over as executive director next month. Carter's eyes widened. Dad. You've earned it. Your work this year has been transformative. Charles turned to me. And Avery, we're creating a new position, Vice President of Innovation and Impact, reporting directly to Carter, overseeing all our strategic initiatives. I couldn't breathe. Mr. Langford, I'm 25, and more qualified than people twice your age. His expression was warm. You've revolutionized how we operate. The question is, do you want the job? It comes with scrutiny. People will say you got it because of Carter, that you slept your way to the top. Let them say it, I said firmly. I know the truth. My work speaks for itself. Yes, it does. Charles smiled. Welcome to the executive team, Miss Cole. After he left, Carter pulled me into an alcove, his eyes bright. Vice President, you're going to be my boss. Technically, you're going to be mine. Even better. He kissed me softly. I'm so proud of you. We did this together. No. He cupped my face. You did this. Your brilliance, your work ethic, your refusal to back down. I just got to watch you shine. You did more than watch. You defended me, stood by me, gave up Olivia and your mother's approval, and best decisions I ever made. His thumb traced my cheekbone. Avery Cole, you walked into my life and turned everything upside down, made me question everything I thought I wanted, showed me what real partnership looks like. Is this going somewhere? My heart was suddenly racing. Maybe. His smile turned nervous. Carter Langford, nervous. Or maybe I just want to say that a year ago, you were the new intern who terrified my mother and fascinated me. Now you're my partner, my best friend, the person who makes every day better just by existing. Carter. And I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 6 months. But when you know, right? He pulled a small box from his pocket. Time stopped. I'm not asking now, he said quickly. This isn't a proposal, not yet. But it's a promise that when you're ready, when the time is right, I'm going to ask you to marry me. And I wanted you to know that, to have this as a reminder that you're it for me, Avery. There's no one else. There never will be. He opened the box. Inside was a simple, elegant ring, nothing ostentatious, just beautiful. Perfect. Carter, you don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm in this. Completely. Whether we get married next month or in 5 years or ask me now. He froze. What? Ask me now. I laughed through sudden tears. Because I already know my answer. I've known since that night in the gardens when I came back and chose you over safety. When I chose us. Avery, are you sure? Carter Langford. If you don't ask me to marry you in the next 10 seconds, I'm going to ask you. His laugh was pure joy. Then he dropped to one knee right there in the alcove, still holding the ring box. Avery Cole. You're brilliant, fierce, infuriating, and the best thing that ever happened to me. Will you marry me? Yes. The word came out choked with happiness. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on my finger, perfect fit of course, and stood, lifting me up and spinning me around. When he set me down, we were both laughing and crying and kissing. My mother is going to lose her mind, he said against my lips. Good. I'd hate to disappoint her. The press will have a field day. Let them. Society will say you trapped me. I don't care. I pulled back to look at him. I stopped caring what they think the day I decided to fight for you. For us. This is our life, Carter, not theirs. Our life, he repeated, testing the words. I like the sound of that. The presentation went perfectly. The audience was riveted. 3 foundations approached me afterward with partnership offers. And when Carter introduced me as the foundation's new VP of Innovation and Impact, and my fiancée, the room erupted in applause. Even Victoria managed a tight smile. Later, as we danced at the gala's end, Carter whispered, So, we're really doing this. Getting married, running a foundation together, driving your mother crazy, all of the above. I looked around the ballroom, at the same space where I'd been humiliated, where Carter had broken his engagement, where our story had really begun. So much had changed. I had changed. From the scared intern protecting her reputation to the woman who chose love over fear. Yeah, I said, resting my head on his shoulder. We're really doing this. And it was going to be extraordinary. 3 years later. The house in Georgetown was nothing like Langford Manor. It was smaller, warmer, filled with books and laughter instead of crystal and judgment. Our home. The one Carter and I had chosen together, away from his mother's influence and society's expectations. I stood in the nursery, painting the walls a soft yellow, while Carter assembled what was allegedly a crib, but looked more like an abstract sculpture of screws and wooden panels. I think this piece is upside down, he muttered, studying the instructions. You said that about the last 3 pieces. Because they were all upside down. He looked up, hair disheveled, a smudge of wood stain on his cheek. How are people expected to build these things? I have 2 graduate degrees. None in furniture assembly, apparently. I set down my paintbrush and crossed to him, kneeling to examine the mess. Here. This slot goes into that groove. That's what I did. Upside down, yes. He pulled me into his lap, abandoning the crib entirely. You know what? We can hire someone to do this. We could. But where's the fun in that? I kissed his paint-smudged nose. Besides, our daughter should know her father at least attempted to build her furniture. Our daughter won't remember any of this. I'll remember, for embarrassing stories later. His hand settled on my growing belly, protective and gentle. 5 months along, and he still looked at me like I was performing miracles. Can't believe we're doing this, he murmured. Having a baby or attempting furniture assembly? Both. All of it. His eyes met mine. 3 years ago, you were the terrified intern at my father's dinner party. Now you're my wife, the foundation's youngest VP ever, pregnant with our daughter, and still the most extraordinary person I know. Flatterer. Honest man married to a force of nature. He kissed me softly. How did I get so lucky? You broke off an engagement at a charity gala and caused a massive scandal. Very romantic. Best decision I ever made. The doorbell rang, interrupting our moment. Carter groaned. If that's another reporter asking about the Foundation power couple, I'm not answering. It's probably just Riley. I stood, pulling him up. She's bringing dinner. Apparently pregnant women need sustenance beyond coffee and ambition. But it wasn't Riley at the door. Victoria Langford stood on our porch, elegant as always in Chanel, holding a large wrapped box. Mrs. Langford. I tried to hide my surprise. This is unexpected. May I come in? Her tone was formal but not hostile. Progress. Carter appeared behind me, his hand finding mine. Mother. We'd seen her occasionally over the past 3 years, holidays at the manor, foundation events, but she'd never visited our home. Had, in fact, made several pointed comments about our quaint Georgetown cottage. I led her to the living room. She sat delicately on our couch, looking around with an expression I couldn't quite read. Congratulations on the pregnancy, she said finally. Charles told me. A girl. Thank you. Silence stretched. Victoria cleared her throat. I brought a gift. For the baby. She extended the box. Carter and I exchanged glances. He nodded, so I took it, unwrapping carefully. Inside was an antique music box, delicate and beautiful, with a hand-painted carousel on top. It was Carter's, Victoria said quietly. When he was born. My mother gave it to me. She paused. I thought perhaps... Your daughter might like it. Tears stung my eyes. This wasn't just a gift. It was an olive branch. Acceptance, finally, after 3 years of cold tolerance. It's beautiful, I managed. Thank you. Yes. Well. Victoria stood abruptly. I should go. I'm sure you're busy with... preparations. Mother. Carter caught her arm. Why now? Why this? She looked at him, and for the first time, I saw vulnerability in her eyes. Because I was wrong. The words came out stiff, unpracticed. About Avery. About what you needed. I thought I was protecting you from a fortune hunter, but... She glanced at me. You were protecting her from me, and you were right to. Mrs. Langford, please let me finish. She straightened. I've watched you these 3 years. The foundation has never been stronger. Your marriage is... She struggled with the words. Genuine. Real. You're happy in a way I've never seen. And the work you've done together, the lives you've changed, it's extraordinary. She turned to me directly. I judged you for your background, for not being born into our world. But you've proven that merit matters more than lineage, that intelligence and drive are worth more than a pedigree. A tiny smile. My granddaughter will be lucky to have you as her mother. I couldn't speak. Carter's hand squeezed mine. Thank you, he said quietly. That means more than you know. Victoria nodded briskly, collecting her purse. I'll see myself out. Oh, and Avery? Next board meeting, your proposal for the Global Education Initiative? You have my vote. After she left, I sank onto the couch, still holding the music box. Did that really just happen? I asked. I think my mother just apologized and complimented you in the same conversation. Carter sat beside me, looking dazed. I need to write this down. No one will believe it. She gave us her mother's music box. She called you our daughter's mother, acknowledged our marriage is real. He pulled me close. 3 years, Avery. It took 3 years, but she finally sees what I saw that first night. What's that? That you're extraordinary, that you belong, that choosing you was the smartest thing I ever did. Later, after Riley had come and gone with enough food for a week, after we'd finally assembled the crib, mostly correctly, Carter and I lay in bed, my head on his chest, his hand tracing patterns on my belly. Tell me again, I murmured sleepily. About that first dinner. You know this story. I like hearing it. He smiled in the darkness. You walked in wearing that navy dress, looking terrified and brave at the same time. My mother was horrible. Olivia was worse. And then my father toasted you, and you lifted your chin like you were daring the whole room to underestimate you. I was petrified. You were magnificent, and I couldn't look away. Olivia was right there, my fiancée, and all I could think was, who is this woman, and why does it feel like my entire life just shifted? I tilted my head to kiss his jaw. Mine shifted too. I just didn't know it yet. When did you know? The gardens. When I came back from Boston, and you were so angry, so hurt, and I realized I'd rather fight with you than succeed without you. Best fight we ever had. We've had better, I teased. True. The argument about the foundation's budget allocation was pretty spectacular. You told me I was being stubborn. You told me I was being privileged and short-sighted. And then we made up very thoroughly, yes. His arms tightened around me. I love you, Avery Cole Langford. Every stubborn, brilliant, world-changing part of you. I love you too. I placed his hand over where our daughter was growing. All of us do. We fell asleep like that, wrapped in each other, in the life we'd built together. The foundation continued to thrive. The Global Education Initiative would launch next year, serving 1 million children. Victoria had actually smiled at me at last month's board meeting. And in 4 months, we'd welcome a daughter who would grow up knowing that love mattered more than status, that merit trumped pedigree, and that the best things in life were worth fighting for. I'd come to Langford Manor as an intern, convinced I needed to protect myself from people like Carter, from feelings that could derail carefully laid plans. Instead, I'd found a partner who challenged me to be brave, a love that made me stronger instead of weaker, a family, imperfect, complicated, real. And every morning, I woke up grateful for that disastrous first dinner. For the moment, everything changed. For choosing us. The end.